Hi folks, Darren for Channel C, and I'm thrilled this afternoon to be chatting with a man whose credentials run several miles long. I won't list them all, but he's hit songwriter, producer, multiple number ones within Europe, UK and the USA, currently president of the Nashville Songwriters Association International and vice president of ASCAP. Mr. Ralph Murphy, thanks for joining us here.
Good to be here, thank you. I'm actually a past president of the Nashville Songwriters Association. I'm also a past president of the Recording Academy and former national trustee, but still vice president of ASCAP unless they get really wise to me and fire my goofy ass.
Yeah, sure. I fire my researcher. All right.
No.
Ralph.
I'm also a waffle iron and a toaster, too.
Very good. Multi-talented, Ralph Murphy. Now, the main reason I think you came out was the Song Summit. That was in Sydney this past weekend. And a lot of music industry heavyweights there, I understand, covering, a myriad of topics. I guess, recently the music industry sort of changed a fair bit. What do you see as the main changes?
The industry has changed in terms of delivery systems. The basic fabric of our industry is still the song. It was great to see Colin Hay again because we've been in Belfast together 2 years ago, or is it 3 years ago now? I'd taken Don Schlitz, who wrote The Gambler, over, and we did the Nashville to Belfast song.
Yeah, The Gambler. That's just an aside. It's the you may not realise this. It's the regional Queensland national anthem these days.
Really?
Yes. Just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, it's used a lot for different things. Don Schlitz always tells me, "Well, Soul's always picked this up." But yeah, it's a wonderful song. I first heard that on a train, as a matter of fact. Going from Nice to Paris.
Appropriate.
His manager played it for me, and Don was signed to Capitol Records at the time, and he had a record deal. And he released it, and it died a terrible death with him as an artist. And the following year, Kenny Rogers cut it and had a monster hit with it, and it's been the underpinning. Actually, Don, I think, has had 21 number one records over the years. Wow. Very, very talented writer.
Yeah.
And a lovely man, too. He's a sweetheart. Nice man.
I'm not sure if this issue was brought up, but I heard something just in the past couple of weeks about the Australian commercial radio. They're moving to possibly abolish the local content quotas, which I think are, they're fairly low already. They're at about 20 or 25%, which I don't know. That sounds something to be concerned about.
It's very, very much. I'm leaving here. I leave tomorrow morning, and I go to Canada, which has a 30% Canadian content ruling.
Right.
And it's been very, very beneficial to local acts. It gets them exposure in their local market, and you're seldom celebrated in your hometown. And it's nice that in Canada they have that content thing. France, I believe, has a very high local content rule, and it's really, really healthy for local musicians and local writers and local creators. So I would be very sad if that actually goes through and that's perpetuated.
Was there an issue covered at the summit that you found especially interesting?
Well, we are in a state of flux. We're in change. We're social networking, the internet. You're looking at YouTube, Facebook, and the expectation of the user is that they're doing you a favor as a creator. They're not. When someone is taking your work to make money by playing it, they're infringing your right to generate income and feed your family. I noticed that all the people who actually work at YouTube and whatever have very nice cars and pay their bills and have a salary, whereas the writers who provide them the content are supposed to work for nothing until they generate income, which I find very confusing. And if they all work for nothing, okay, if everybody in our industry worked for nothing, I'd do mine for nothing. I love what I do. If the A&R people work for nothing, if radio worked for nothing, everybody worked for nothing, great. If one person makes $1, I want that dollar too. Because I am the fabric that they're cutting their clothing from. I am the song. Take away the song, you got nothing. Guitar manufacturers, piano people, theaters, A&R people, radio, television. There would be nothing without a song.
Yeah.
And yet that is the least rewarded and the least considered in terms of the entire equation. I find it astonishing.
Yeah, well, there's some concrete strategies sort of discussed about how to deal with this issue.
Mm-hmm. There are always concrete strategies involved. The one problem you've got is money.
Mm-hmm.
Money talks. And the people that generate the bulk of the money are the users of music.
Yeah.
Bars, restaurants, taverns, reviews, nightclubs, radio, television, they make the real money.
Yeah.
The actual creator makes almost nothing. So the users of music can afford to buy legislation.
Yeah. Yeah.
All legislation is bought. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, yes.
This is the real world.
Yeah, sadly true. I imagine there would have been a few showcases down there. Were there any artists you found especially impressive?
I've got a load of CDs with me, and I've got a 15-hour flight in the morning. And see, unfortunately, when you're actually in the room, what you hear somebody playing is, and you don't really get a chance to hear the song.
Yeah.
Well, every performance has two parts to it. There's the performance, the whole thing that they present on stage, the stagecraft, but there's also the song. And you can't really evaluate it without hearing the song and seeing the performance. So that's what I look forward to tomorrow, is hearing all the songs that I missed, but being awed by their performance values.
Yeah, I can imagine at these events you're constantly bombarded with the CDs in the face, and you don't mind that?
No, gosh, no. I carry an MP3 player and Bose headphones, which excludes all sound. And
nice.
Once I get on the plane, especially from here, it's a 15-hour flight. So I've got 15 hours to listen to a lot of songs.
Great. Good times.
It is good times, too. Good stuff.
Now, Ralph, this is well known. You've put out Murphy's Laws of Songwriting, and this is an internet site. It's freely available to anyone, and
sure.
Laws of Songwriting. And you've been studying specifically number one songs. Can you talk about your rationale for just only studying the number ones?
That's easy. Nobody throws a number two party.
Yes.
Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's true.
You've been invited by too many number 5 parties, number 10 parties. No, they don't.
Never.
Have them. No.
Funnily enough, never number one either. But all right.
Well, no. But the funny thing is, when anyone comes to me, they say, I've got to have a hit.
Sure.
So if I aim them at being the best, if they fall short at number 5 or number 10, they still feed their family.
Yeah, sure.
So why would I study number 5s? Number 5s weren't good enough to make it. Why would I study the team that didn't go to the height of Everest?
Yeah.
Well, let me see how they get 20,000 feet below the surface. Nobody cares.
Yes.
The horse that came second. Who finished third at the LPGA? I don't know. Who finished fifth at Wimbledon? Nobody cares.
It makes sense.
Hello, Vietnam. Give me a break.
Well, it's such a good resource. If you're a songwriter, or even if you have a vague interest in songwriting, you'll find it interesting. But things you talk about are form, tempo, themes. Sure. Something I find especially interesting is you talk about pronouns. Quickly talk about that.
Well, the pronoun is a little big word. The pronoun you invites the listener in. The moment you invite the listener in, you have to tell them how great they are. Most of the problems with songs are pronoun generated because we're monumentally dysfunctional. I've just finished the book, actually, Murphy's Laws of Songwriting, which will be out probably in about 3 months, as soon as I get all the bits and pieces together on it. And it was done in anguish because I teach a lot at universities. I also deal a lot with hit writers who want to change genre, who want to move from pop to dance to rock to whatever, because the structures remain the same. But the pronoun you invites the listener in.
Yeah.
Also, you're never a loser and you're never over 30 in a song. So the moment the person is a loser, matter of fact, the next writers that you're going to be interviewing, one of the writers that we were dealing with the pronoun, and he was like a kind of an old guy loser in the song, and by making it third person, suddenly it became more universal. The song itself.
Yeah.
Invites the listener in.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about the 7 a.m. rule?
Oh shoot, yeah. That's really easy, because if you deal with a monumentally distracted human being, if you're trying to get someone who is predisposed to hate you to like you, then if you pick someone who is marginally friendly towards you, you're going to win them over.
Yeah.
I want to win someone who doesn't want to be won over. You've got to remember why, when you were a kid, you heard a song, you ran to your next door neighbor and said, "You got to hear this song."
Yeah.
Because by playing it to them, it made you look good to them.
Mm-hmm.
When you play something that has cachet, it makes you look better to your peer group.
Yeah.
So I want to give someone a song that when they play it to their peer group is going to make them look wonderful to their peer group.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing you talk about is finding the nut of a song.
Oh, yeah. What are you really talking about? If I'm having a conversation with you and I'm saying, well, she left me, but you know, the trees are really green in January, and they're about to go, who's she?
Yeah.
Well, that was what the whole conversation was about. It wasn't the trees being green in January and, you know, the chickens laying eggs and whatever. I was talking about a relationship. Well, people obfuscate. They will kind of hide this thing because they really don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're, well, yeah, she left me, but, you know, I'm driving this new car now and the world is really fine. No, I want to hear about that. See, women, I'm always writing for women. Men can find their own songs. Men 11 to 23 by rock, thrash metal, hip hop, urban. I'm not part of the band.
Mm.
Men 50 to 65 by jazz and symphonic.
Yeah.
I'm not part of the symphony orchestra. My songs are bought by women, basically. Women physically buy 50% of all records made, and make men buy the other 50%. So if you're not singing to and writing for women, you're kind of like dancing the breeze.
Yeah, sure.
So now Harlan Howard, my dear, dear friend, the brother I never wanted, he had 180 hits. He wrote Busted, Tiger by the Tail, You Walk By, I Fall to Pieces, on and on and on. You should just Google him sometime. He's a monster. He's been dead about 7 years. But he said, "Pal, I always write for women." I said, "Well, me too." He said, "No, pal." He says, "I always write for women." He said, "If there's one word in a song that doesn't make women look good, then I take it out."
Yeah.
And he had 180 hits.
Wow.
So that's my mantra. That's my raison d'etre. And make the woman look good.
Live by it.
What's in it for the woman? What's in it for the woman? What's in it for the woman?
Great advice. I'm going to take that on board. I should be writing this down now. I guess you'll have people who say, you know, Ralph, you're over-analysing. It's too clinical. It's music by numbers. What's your response to?
Well, let me think. Now, Tiger Woods, every day of his life, goes and hits 200 balls out of the sand trap, 200 balls he putts, 200 balls with a 3-iron, 200 balls with a thing. Is he overanalyzing?
Mm.
Is he?
Not at
Phil
all.
Mickelson?
No.
Is every tennis player that hits 200 balls and 200 balls? I write 100 songs a year.
Mm.
Am I overdoing it? No. I am trying to figure out a way to get through the thing. Everybody says to me, and this is amazing, of all the people on the planet, film directors who go to school to learn that, screenwriters who go to school to learn that, book writers who go to school to learn that,
Mm-hmm.
the only people on the entire planet that aren't educated and don't learn are songwriters.
Mm.
Ooh, interesting. Let me see. Everyone in the business, the lawyers go to school to learn how to write contracts.
Yeah.
The A&R people go to apprentice themselves to other hit engineers to learn that. So we're the only people that spring to earth. Now, you see, that actually works in certain cases because through osmosis, the Beatles were natural writers.
Mm.
No, they weren't. They played 4 40-minute sets a night for like 7 years.
Yeah, people
all
forget
covers.
that.
All covers.
Yeah.
They knew where the rhyme scheme changed. They knew where the hook occurred. They knew the basic structures because they played them every night.
And near the craft, yeah.
Yeah. Well, see, a lot of the bands played covers.
Mm.
They forget that.
Mm.
They got it through osmosis.
Yeah.
Now, these young kids coming up are not playing covers. So they have to say, no, here's what the human animal wants.
Mm.
When you go fishing, you do not think like the fisherman.
Mm-hmm.
You think like the fish.
Yeah.
I teach people to think like the fish.
Mm-hmm.